News Central now at this hour begins in Rivers State, where the Court of Appeal in Abuja has affirmed Honorable Martin Ameole as the legitimate Speaker of the Rivers State Assembly. In a unanimous decision, the court upheld a federal high court ruling that nullified the 2024 Rivers State budget, which Governor Siminalaye Fubara had presented to only 4 lawmakers instead of the full assembly. The court ruled that Fubara's actions violated the Constitution. The budget and other actions taken without the participation of the Ameole-led lawmakers were declared invalid. Additionally, the governor was ordered to release funds to Assembly and refrain from obstructing its operations. The court also imposed a fine of 500,000 naira on Fubara for the appeal. News Central correspondent Emmanuel Bagudu, who was in court today, now joins me for more on this. Hello, Emmanuel. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you.
Good evening. So, you were in court today. Can you tell us how the proceedings went?
Yes, it was a judgment, a landmark judgment delivered by the 3-panel of appeal court justices who actually declared that there is no any House of Assembly except the House of Assembly that is being led by Honorable Speaker Matthew Amaule, which is consisting of about 27 lawmakers, including Amaule himself, and that the factional speaker, he with just 4 members, including himself, are actually null and void and are not lawful speakers of the House of Assembly. For the fact that the 2023 appropriation that was approved by those 4 factional members of Rivers State House of Assembly is null and void. And as we speak, the appellate court's ruling judgment suggests that, or rather, rule that there is no budget currently in Rivers State. That is what the judgment means, and that Governor Fubara should respect the court order and then stop handling matters of Rivers State with disdain, with levity, and a show of legislative recklessness and legislative lawlessness. Thank you. Yeah, that's what it means. That's what all the transpired in court today. Yeah.
All right, Emmanuel, but what does this ruling mean for Rivers State House of Assembly and just Rivers State House of Assembly for now? What next steps should actually, or do you think would be taken, for the Assembly?
Yes, you notice that actually a lot of the members of the Speaker Matthew Amaule, whom the court backed, were actually in court, and that this judgment actually means that the Rivers State House of Assembly is now being led by Honorable Matthew Amaule, and that there's actually a sitting. There is in existence a House of Assembly which is being led by Speaker Amaule, and that contrary to Governor Fubara's appeal, whom he said he wants the 4-man, the 4-man constituted House of Assembly, which didn't form a quorum, to be declared as the current House of Assembly. It simply means that the 31 members, of House of Assembly of Rivers State must come together, to form a complete, house. That is what the judgment means. The judgment actually ordered that the faction should be united and become one, and then stop, operating in secret. That the affairs of government cannot be done in secret. The affairs of government should be done in open, and democracy should not be tampered with. That the entire 31 members of this Rivers State House of Assembly must come together and continue cooperating with the governor and continue ruling the people of Rivers State. That is what the judgment means. And then that there shouldn't be any faction. And if at all there's any faction, that the Matthew Amaule-led House of Assembly, which consists of 26 members plus Matthew himself, which is 27, are recognized as the legal members of the House of Representatives, House of Assembly in Rivers State. Yeah.
Well, Emmanuel, you did say that, Governor Fubara, has actually appealed the ruling. Can you please go ahead and tell us, according to the court, what particular constitutional provisions did Fubara's actions violate? And also, we know that the court said that Fubara should represent the budget. What can you tell us about that as well?
Yes, the budget that was being passed, the court actually faulted Fubara's acceptance of the approved budget, which was approved by the Speaker, which is made up of just 4 members of the House of Assembly. So he actually, Justice Omotosho on January 22nd actually ruled that is null and void, that he nullified that act and declared that there is no budget in Rivers State. That was on January 22nd. And then Fubara went ahead to come to the Court of Appeal and appealed that judgment. And it was today that the ruling was delivered. And the appellate court actually affirmed the ruling of Justice Omotosho on January 22nd this year, saying that actually that the appeal of Fubara has been dismissed, and then the appellate court went ahead to affirm what Justice Omotosho ruled on January 22nd. And what that means is that the appeal, what actually took Fubara to the court was to appeal and legalize, or rather give credit to, lend credence to the current appropriation, which is about 800 billion naira budget of Rivers State, which was approved by the former member of House of Representatives, which in the court actually declared that as very responsible of the governor, that he's not supposed to, that is out of the law, that contravenes section 19 of 1999 constitution as amended, okay, that the 4 members of the House of Representatives who are factionalized did not form a quorum enough, did not represent the state very well, and that has been squashed. That appeal has been squashed, has been dismissed, and that he should go back and represent that budget to the 31 members of the House of Representatives, House of Assembly of Rivers State. Okay. That is only when everyone will know that actually that appropriation, that budget is valid. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Emmanuel, for that update. Away from that, the Board of Trustees of the People's Democratic Party has asked the National Working Committee of the party to urgently convene a National Executive Committee meeting to address the crisis within the party. Chairman of the PDP Board of Trustees, Senator Adolphus Wabara, made the recommendation at a meeting of the BLT in Abuja on Thursday. Wabara also urged all that were invited by the party's disciplinary committee to freely represent themselves to the committee, stressing the supremacy of the party over any member. According to him, the Board of Trustees held a significant meeting with the Governor of Rivers State, Siminalaye Fubara, in August, where issues around the political situation in the state and its effect on the party was discussed. To security matters, the Nigerian Defense Headquarters has said a notorious terrorist kingpin in Jigawa State, known as Mehijabi, has been killed in an operation conducted during the week. The DHQ said this was part of its effort to destroy the fighting capacities of terror groups across the northern parts of the country. The Director, Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, disclosed this while briefing journalists on the activities of the troops during the week. He noted that a total of 165 terrorists were killed and 238 suspects were arrested. Buba added that troops also arrested 35 suspected oil thieves in the South and denied the oil theft of the estimated sum of over 688 million naira. The Defense Headquarters has challenged former militant leader Asari Dokubo to face the military on the battlefield. This comes after Dokubo on October 5 threatened to shoot down a military helicopter near his residence and claimed he could defeat the Nigerian military. In response, Major General Edward Buba, Director of Defense Media Operations, dared Dokubo to test the military's strength. He warned that Dokubo would be neutralized if he engaged in combat and urged security agencies to address the threat. Buba reiterated that the military's main focus remains on combating terrorists across various operational areas.
Comments by some individual that they can shoot down the helicopter of the military, I think that's laughable. In fact, I'm about to laugh about that. And I say that because, you know, we're in a democracy and we are a professional force. We cannot just based on somebody's comments begin to do certain things and then they will now accuse the military of being undemocratic. The military is not the only security agency, force, or department in the country. There are other security forces who have a role to play constitutionally when it comes to some of these issues. But I tell you that he doesn't have that capability. He's just blabbing. But I will allow the security forces that are responsible for handling such cases to take up the matter. Ours is come on the battlefield and we take you out. He should come on the battlefield and see whether we can react or not. Now to comments about welfare. I must tell you at this point that when you look at the high command of the military, beginning with the Chief of Defense Staff, General C.J. Musa, to the service chiefs, one thing the common denominator you will see or find is that all of them have operational experience. They've been in the battlefield. They know what the troops in the field are feeling. And that is why on their appointment to their positions, they knew to take welfare of the troops as priority, which they have done. I can assure you that the military doesn't play with the welfare of its troops, particularly at this time.
We now turn our attention to the petroleum sector for the second time in 1 month, where Nigeria has increased petrol costs, further intensifying economic pressures in a country already facing inflation and widespread hardship. As reported by News Central correspondent Igbalani Omoni, this latest petrol price hike has exacerbated existing economic challenges for Nigerian citizens. Some Nigerians expressed their views on the implications of the new pump price.
Chief Felix, a former unit supervisor at a major export company in Nigeria, has turned to commercial driving to earn a living after being defrauded of his savings while attempting to travel abroad. Dealing with this predicament amid high inflation and rising food prices is a heavy burden for any Nigerian. However, the challenges do not stop there. Mr. Felix must now pay nearly 1,000 naira per litre for petrol.
We seem not to have any say. Even when you protest, it's not going to work. You understand? So it's a hopeless situation. That's why I'm saying that the level of impunity has taken over a lot of things, because you don't know who you base your hope on.
Nigerians face the harsh realities of another fuel price increase, the second within a month. The latest adjustment raises the pump price to a record high, with costs ranging from 998 to 1,050 naira per litre across regions. This is a steep increase from the 650 naira in early September and 897 naira before the current change. Observations from fuel stations show reduced activity in some, with long queues at other pumps as motorists rush to fill up.
Before, I fill up this car 11,000 naira, but when they change it to 980 something, I fill up with 60,000. But now that is 998, I didn't sure I can buy 60,000 naira again, because I've been here since 5 o'clock. And if there was a old man that said he has been here since 4:30.
Passengers are complaining now because as we are suffering to buy fuel now, do you understand? So if you tell them price, if you call price for them, they will be like, I did the one that increased the fuel. This thing. So we are the one the increasing of fuel affecting much. You understand? We are the one going through the pains.
While the May 2023 decision to transition to a market-based pricing model aimed to improve efficiency, the frequent adjustments have prompted debate around the sustainability of the fuel subsidy removal, especially amid soaring living expenses. The end of the NNPC middleman arrangement between Dangote Refinery and marketers, allowing direct purchases from Dangote Refinery, has led to the latest pump price change, according to reports. As public frustration grows, there is uncertainty about whether the petroleum sector has truly been deregulated.
It appears that every morning people come out and increase. Is that all about governance? We have had agreements on looking at the issue of CNG, the impact on it. Today, it's not there. We have had agreement on the issue of Port Harcourt Refinery functioning. It is not functioning today. And like I said earlier, they said if we deregulate, so that the private sector will come in and participate. It will involve, competition. And when there is competition, the market forces will determine the prices. Now, where does that economic analysis lead us to now?
How the government's response over the coming weeks and months will be critical to navigating the country's near-term economic outlook amid a multitude of domestic and global uncertainties. In Lagos 4 News Central, I am Igbalani Omoni.
Let's also tell you that the Trade Union Congress has demanded the return of petrol prices to what they were as of June 2023. TUC President Festus Osifo said this at a press briefing in Abuja on Thursday. He asked the government to specially intervene in the sector by giving foreign exchange to Dangote refinery at $1 for 1,000 naira and not at the current over $1, 1,600 naira exchange rate to crash petrol prices. He emphasized that the federal government needs to intervene in its critical sector and should not leave the oil sector to the gyration of the naira. Since May 2023, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has increased the pump prices of petrol from 184 naira in Lagos to 998 naira. The price per litre of petrol was around 450 naira in Lagos as of June 2023. Thank you for staying tuned. The Senate has officially confirmed Professor Abdullahi Usman as the chairman of the Hajj Commission. The confirmation of Usman's nomination followed the consideration and adoption of the report of the Senate Committee on Foreign Affairs chaired by Senator Abubakar Bello on Thursday. Senator Bello, in his report following the screening conducted by his committee, said that Usman merited being appointed to head the nation's apex Hajj body. The confirmation was finalized with a supportive voice vote led by President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio.
The committee, having carefully and thoroughly screened the nominee and it is satisfied with his qualifications, exposure, conduct, character, experiences, and general performances. The nominee has displayed wide and in-depth knowledge of Hajj activities and operations. Therefore, the committee recommends as follows: that the Senate do confirm the nomination of Professor Abdullahi Saleh Usman for appointment as chairman of the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria. We so move.
Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate confirm the nomination of Professor Abdullahi Saleh for appointment as chairman of the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria? Those in favor say aye, and those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Professor Abdullahi Saleh is hereby confirmed as chairman of the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria.
Staying with the lawmakers, the House of Representatives has rejected a motion on urgent public importance seeking the intervention of the federal government in the chieftaincy tussle rocking the Okbela community in the Esako East local government area of Edo State. The motion was moved by the member representing Esako East, Esako West Federal Constituency, Edo State, Dekeri Anamero. Addressing the House during Thursday's plenary session, Anamero lamented the loss of lives in Okbela owing to the violent reaction to the crowning of Lukman Akemokwe as the Okpopelegbe of Okbela by Governor Godwin Obaseki a fortnight ago. As it were, the presentation of a staff of office to Akemokwe has not gone down well with the people. Consequently, while those in favor of the new king are celebrating, those against his choice have made their position public, a development that led to the outbreak of violence in the cement town last week. To a business and economy story, The administration of former President Muhammadu Buhari borrowed over 30 trillion naira through the CBN's advances, considerably beyond the allowed borrowing limit, compounding the nation's inflation woes. Now, under the current government of President Bola Tinubu, the Central Bank of Nigeria is tightening control over government borrowing through the Ways and Means provision, promising to rigidly enforce the 5% borrowing cap. News Central's business editor, Nasir Agbalaya, who compiled this report, highlights how the daily lives of Nigerians, corporate activities, and public spending may all be impacted by this new policy thrust.
The Ways and Means advances from the Central Bank of Nigeria have long allowed the Nigerian government to borrow directly from the Apex Bank to cover budget shortfalls. In recent years, this has escalated significantly, raising concerns about rising public debt and inflation.
Advances are made to the federal government with the assurances that when some receipts in terms of revenues are due, those advances or overdrafts can be repaid.
For businesses and citizens alike, the real question is how the government will cope with reduced access to easy financing. With inflation eating into household incomes and businesses struggling with rising costs, the government's reduced borrowing capacity could push it to make tough decisions on taxation and spending.
The effect, if you restrict government borrowing in this manner, the effect is that you will also help to manage the money supply in the economy. If you restrict money supply from being arbitrarily increased, then you are helping to manage inflation, which is the general rise in price levels. So the impact will be to help us manage inflation, to help us moderate inflation.
Nigeria's small and medium enterprises, which make up the backbone of any economy, are particularly vulnerable to these economic shifts. Many SMEs are already grappling with high operation costs and reduced customer spending due to inflation.
Businesses that could not, sort of survive or, weather the storm had to shut down, meaning that there were jobs that were lost in the process. Government also lost revenue that would come in form of taxes.
There's growing skepticism about whether the Cardoso-led CBN will be able to enforce these borrowing limits strictly, especially as Nigeria faces ongoing budgetary challenges. In the past, similar financing policies have been circumvented or outright abandoned when they became politically inconvenient.
But the truth is that nobody has been brought to book. There is no deterrent that has been set in place to ensure that this sort of anomaly doesn't repeat itself.
As Nigeria faces an evolving economic landscape, the impacts of these fiscal policies will be closely watched by businesses, investors, and citizens alike. Stay with us for continuing coverage of Nigeria's economic outlook in 2024.
Staying with economic matters, the Central Bank of Nigeria has signed memoranda of understandings with foreign regulators to enhance oversight on coordination of Nigerian banks that operate subsidiaries abroad. This initiative aims to ensure that Nigerian banks follow local and international regulations, promoting greater stability in the banking sector. News Central's Igbalani Omoni provides more details.
It is anticipated that the MOU will improve oversight and cooperation between Nigerian banks and their overseas subsidiaries. This entails putting in place early warning systems, risk-based oversight, and frequent stress testing to preserve the stability of the financial system and ultimately strengthen the economy. Economist Muda Yusuf praises the proactive approach but stresses the need for tight compliance to maintain the economy's growth trajectory.
The central bank doesn't have offices all over the world. They can, because of subsidiaries, be opening branches here and there. The whole essence of regulation is to ensure that the banks are transparent and that they play by the rules in the interest of the larger economy. So what I think should happen, or what I think is happening, is that the CBN is just strengthening its regulatory effectiveness.
This development is related to the order issued by the CBN 6 months ago, which increased its control of banks' compliance with the recapitalization directive and mandated that banks satisfy new minimum capital criteria.
Even though the actual reason behind this policy is to ensure a sound and stable financial system and a strong one that can withstand shocks, like you said, there might be some downsides, even though it might not be as significant as the pros. Some of the downsides that we can say is, first of all, local investors, they are faced with the local challenges, right? With respect to inflation, with respect to high cost of doing business, right? So they might not have that additional capital to invest in these banks. Another challenge that might occur is if some of these banks are unable to meet up with this threshold for their current license arrangements, what we're going to see is that they are going to have a downgrade.
The prior order by CBN was to ensure banks had enough capital to weather economic downturns. With the MOUs in place, the CBN can now monitor activities outside Nigeria. The MOU is expected to boost stability and growth in the economy, and experts believe the CBN's approach will be critical to preserving the resilience of Nigeria's banking sector as it continues to evolve. In Lagos for News Central, I am Igbalani Omoni.
Nigeria's federal government has been tasked to collaborate with youth groups in achieving effective climate action for the country. Now, this was during a summit in Abuja, which was aimed at equipping youths with adequate skills to understand the nation's climate action plan and implement same in communities across the country. Amadine Uyi reports.
The summit had in attendance youth-led civil society organizations as they presented their work around climate action and shared their achievements. The session, which is designed to foster collaboration, learning, and mutual support among the groups, aimed at equipping the youths with the skills to understand Nigeria's climate action plan.
This program, which is empowering youth civil society organizations to build stronger communities in Nigeria, is training youth organizations to understand Nigeria's climate action priorities and the role that they can play in the implementation.
Today at this event, what became really clear, one thing that was mentioned every time again, for me was awareness. And I think it's becoming increasingly visible that awareness is a huge factor in the work on climate change. So this means that even though the effects of climate change are quite real, even in Nigeria, and we can see them and experience them, lots of people are not aware that these are actually the effects of climate. So we heard in one presentation that all throughout August there was no rain, and people were wondering why is there no rain, but they were never connecting it to climate change. Because
some of the groups say the summit will place young persons in Nigeria at the core of the nation's climate action plan, making them part of Nigeria's change process. They also called for more collaboration with governments in a bid to tackle problems resulting from climate change.
The good thing about where we are right now is that there's more awareness. Young people are paying more attention. I mean, young people make up 65% of the population in Nigeria. And imagine if we had that population actually raising awareness about climate change, we'll be in a better place come COP29, and which is what this summit is about, you know, getting young people to be involved in conversation, to be part of the change makers who are going to be there, be part of the policies that would, you know, be in place when Nigeria goes to COP29.
So far, we've been getting little support from the government. We've not gotten the kind of support we want. And you know that, like they say, young people are the bedrock of any proven or growing society. So it means that for us at Enugu, we would like for more partnership with the government, right, to be able to get to the final solution a bit better.
We have a lot of greengrass emissions. You see a lot of dump sites, and in those communities you don't have like a specific dump site where that people can come and they can pack it, and also maybe recycle that. So those are one of the problems. We also have a lot of problems in terms of flooding, where we don't have proper drainage systems, and right now we are now also working with Ministry of Environment and to see how we can be able to solve those kind of problems. And these are just local context issues that we are trying to solve.
Participants at the summit say they hope to form a synergy that will help the nation achieve its climate action goals. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
The Kuka Center has raised an alarm over an impending danger likely to occur due to the poor state of dietary practices and the current nutritional status of some citizens of Nigeria. This is as the center mobilized faith leaders across Nigeria for its strategic national dialogue on nutrition. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu reports.
These are clergymen and women synergizing to finding lasting solutions to the current critical issue of malnutrition in the country, which is currently affecting 37 of the children in Nigeria. It is the World Bank's funded Accelerated Nutrition Result in Nigeria's Strategic Dialogue, being hosted by the Kuka Center in Abuja. The leaders have been empowered to take the lead in spreading the information on the accessibility of basic food and childcare nutritional services in the country.
Despite the conflict in Maiduguri, according to UN, Maiduguri still has one of the highest number of children. So even in violence, we are still giving birth to children. And within this population, about 37% of our children under 5 years of age, are suffering from stunting. I was just mentioning to one of the presenters, in 10-15 years, if something is not done, the whole of my area, we may end up with a generation of dwarfs.
A situation where our children compete at a global standard because they've been fed right. And we understand the economic situation and the issues of food security in the country.
Omolara Olagunju is a consultant family physician and faith influencer. She maintains that if urgent steps are not taken to tackle malnutrition in the country, there will be consequences.
Of course, the immediate effect of poor nutrition is having children or young adults who are stunted, who are underweight, who are wasted. But that is the one that you can see now. In recent times, research has shown that when people are stunted as children, by the time they grow up, they are then predisposed to other non-communicable diseases. Talk about the diabetes, the hypertension, the obesity, and that eventually puts a lot of burden on Nigeria.
Because we are worried about the future of Nigeria, particularly in areas and regions where there's intense conflict and is conflict infested. People are not really feeding properly, and we don't want to end up with a generation that is completely stunted, their potentials are not realized, and they end up with all kinds of sicknesses, and they cannot contribute to productivity.
From this level, we gather other leaders and transfer to them the knowledge we have obtained from here, and then they transfer to other people till it goes down to the grassroots level.
The center said it will continue to leverage on the influence of faith leaders in the country in driving nutritional changes in Nigeria. In Abuja for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
Thank you for staying with us. The Sala de Paz, a group of electoral observer organizations in Mozambique, have expressed concerns about the apparent lack of conditions for counting votes in the general elections that took place on Wednesday in Mozambique due to the lack of light. Wednesday's general elections are being marked by accusations of irregularities on the part of the opposition, with no significant incidents reported and observers highlighting popular participation. Meanwhile, a report from the May Integridad Electoral Consortium, a civil society platform for electoral observation, claimed that 90% of the polling stations observed opened on time, but there were other stations that suffered delay due to a lack of voting material. Daniel Chapo, the newcomer politician, is a favorite to win the elections, as political analysts believe he has the advantage of Frelimo's incumbency power. Still in Mozambique, opposition presidential candidate Venancio Mondlane has called for people to embark on a protest in order to defend democracy. This comes a day after the Southern African nation held a presidential and legislative election which the ruling Frelimo party was widely expected to win. Wednesday's general elections in Mozambique are being marked by accusations of irregularities on the part of the opposition, with no significant incidents reported and observers highlighting popular participation.
Temos que estar na rua a reivindicar e a defender esta pátria, porque esta pátria está por fio. Tudo está alienado, tudo está por fio. Ou a gente pega por esse fio, recuperamos o país, ou deixamos o país cair em definitivo no precipício, no fundo do poço. Agora, tudo está nas tuas mãos. Mas eu volto a repetir, uma vez mais, é hora de ir para a rua. É hora de defender a tua pátria. É hora de defender o teu voto. É hora de defender a democracia. É hora de salvar Moçambique.
Now on World Wrap, Hurricane Milton tore a coast-to-coast path of destruction across the U.S. state of Florida, whipping up a spate of deadly tornadoes that left at least 4 people dead and millions without power on Thursday. In a statement on its website, St. Lucie County on the East Coast confirmed 4 fatalities as a result of these tornadoes. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said the storm triggered deadly tornadoes and left more than 3 million people without power. Milton made landfall on Wednesday night on the Florida Gulf Coast as a major Category 3 storm. Sustained hurricane-force winds smashed inland through communities still reeling from Hurricane Helen 2 weeks ago before roaring off Florida's east coast into the Atlantic. The Palestinian National Authority and the World Bank has signed the Palestinian Emergency Financing Project Agreement in the presence of representatives from France and the UK. World Bank Director for the West Bank and Gaza, Stefan Emblad, said the partnership brings a much-needed relief to the Palestinian people at this critical time and aligns with both parties' mutual priorities.
A few days ago, we marked the first anniversary of the war in our people in Gaza. We are in deep pain, as we all expected. The level of destruction, the indiscriminate mass killing and starvation of our people has not been seen in modern history. The world has said never again after the horrible Holocaust. Sadly, we are seeing it happening again against our people. And sadly, with silence and impunity by the free world.
The agreement we are signing today, amounting to almost $20 million, as the minister pointed out, has been disbursed as of early September, and we take pride in the partnership, which brings much needed relief to the Palestinian people at a critical time and aligns with our mutual.
President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, has announced 1.8 billion euros in aid for Moldova. At a joint press conference with the president of Moldova, Maia Sandu, she said the aid from the EU will be invested in the economy over the next 3 years, focusing on sectors that will generate growth in public services.
We believe that we can help you double the size of your economy in a decade. That means good jobs and a better quality of life for Moldovans. We will invest 1.8 billion euros in your economy over the next 3 years, and we will focus these investments on sectors that will generate economic growth and public services. We will invest in better connections in your country and with your neighbors, like the road between Chisinau, Iași and Odessa, or bridges.
In business, during a discussion on market pulse, Joanna Mustafa asked Daniel Effer, Senior Business Development Manager at PU Prime Africa, whether he agrees with those who praise the CBN for taking a more cautious approach instead of following the crowd.
It's a peculiar conversation. The Feds didn't rush because some people have the opinion that the Feds rushed, but I don't think that is the case. I think it's a function of they have a declining jobs data for the past 2 years since they've been consistently increasing rates. At this point in time, yes, you focus on people. Let's try and expand the economy right now. Let's try and create jobs. So you wouldn't see it as a rush. In fact, based on what they are saying, based on the projection for the next 2 years, we are seeing there's a potential slowdown even in the interest rate decrease. Right? For the CBN, CBN not joining the bandwagon is a function of our own peculiar problem, right? I still feel CBN is joining the bandwagon because of the consistent interest rate increase. Because at the end of the day, you want to see if it has a direct effect on taming inflation. But that's another conversation for another day. But CBN is doing its part in terms of.
In the world of sports, former Super Eagles striker and African Cup of Nations winner Brown Ideye is set to return to the Nigerian Premier Football League (NPFL). Ideye, who last played for Al Yarmouk in Kuwait, recently told reporters that he wants to end his career in the league that brought him to public light. He started his football career at Bayelsa United in 2006 before moving to Europe and expects to seal a deal with an unnamed NPFL side by the matchday 9 window when the window for player registration in the Nigeria Premier Football League reopens. Ideye's club career has so far seen him score 159 goals in 442 games. At international level, he played 28 games for Nigeria and scored 6 goals, winning the Africa Cup of Nations in 2013. 22-time Grand Slam champion Rafael Nadal will retire from tennis at the end of this season. The 38-year-old will represent Spain in his final appearance at next month's Davis Cup finals in Malaga. Nadal had previously indicated 2024 would be his final season after missing most of 2023 with a hip injury. Nadal retires as the second most successful men's single player of all time, behind only longtime rival Novak Djokovic. Dubbed the King of Clay, Nadal won the French Open singles title a record 14 times, winning 112 of his 116 major matches at Roland Garros. Nadal is also a 4-time US Open champion and won both the Australian Open and Wimbledon twice. And that's all at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of our major stories. You heard that appeal court validates pro-Wike lawmakers, declares Rivers' 2024 budget passed by Edison Ehie Group illegal. You also heard that Trade Union Congress condemns latest fuel price hike, demands reversal to pre-June 2023 rate. Finally, we told you that Mozambique opposition presidential candidate calls for protest. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Dashen. Usman.